So net new pipeline, when we applied ABM to it, it was increasing the average size of that opportunity by almost 50%, 49% ARR increase, annual recurring revenue increase, just by applying ABM to that. Now it's early stage in that measurement, but you think about that value.
That's extraordinary. Yeah.
How is that happening?
Hello and welcome to the Healthtech Marketing Podcast, brought to you by Health Launchpad and HIMSS. Hi, I am Adam Chirinas. I'm Health Launchpad founder and CEO and your host for today. So the Healthtech Marketing Podcast is for anyone in the healthcare technology marketing industry who wants to learn from the masters, people who are in the field doing it now. So thank you for joining us today. So as we all know, marketing to healthcare is really hard and we could all use a little help. So the Healthtech Marketing Podcast is the chance for you to hear directly from leading health tech marketers, where they're going to share insights on what works, what's working in their business now, and what they find is really effective in getting the attention of healthcare organizations. So the aim of this is to give you really practical advice and things that we hope that you can take away and start putting into action immediately. The podcast is brought to you by HIMSS, global advisor, thought leader, and the leading member healthcare association in healthcare technology that's committed to transforming the healthcare ecosystem. It's also brought to you by my firm, Health Launchpad. We're a specialist marketing consultancy, and we work exclusively with healthcare technology firms. So today, I am delighted to introduce our guest, my friend, Mr. Ben Pearson. So Ben is the Vice President of Global Marketing for Nuvolo, and Ben's going to tell us a little bit about Nuvolo in a minute. Really interesting company. I've known Ben for a couple of years, and I've just been blown away by the strategic way that he's built an ABM-based marketing engine for Nuvolo. Really interesting what the work that he's doing. Frankly, I've learned more about ABM by listening to what he's been doing over the last year or so than any other source. So, Ben, really great to have you on the pod today. Let's start just telling us a bit about Nuvolo. This is a firm that maybe not a lot of people have heard about, but this is a firm on a rocket ride.
Yeah, Adam, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity just to share what we're doing, around healthcare marketing. It is a little unique, and the company as a whole. So a little bit about Nuvolo. We were founded back in 2014. I've been with the company since our start, and healthcare is a major focus of our business. That is one of that besides life sciences, healthcare and life sciences are our primary two markets we sell into. Healthcare for us, what we're doing, and you're right, Adam. Not a lot of folks maybe have heard of us. But if you are in a hospital today and there is a team of people managing and supporting medical devices and facilities within a hospital, they're most likely using the Nuvolo platform to do their work. And so, we are truly modernizing how the clinical engineering, biomed, and facilities organizations and hospitals are able to deliver amazing solutions for the hospital that are, the lifeblood of making sure those hospitals are up and running. So excited for this opportunity to share what we're doing, Adam, and appreciate the opportunity.
You've come to marketing through a really interesting route. I mean, just share a bit about your journey.
So just to give you the shorter version, Adam, I've been in technology pretty much my whole career in my degree, and so technology has always been a passion of mine. But when I came into Nuvolo, a big passion of mine was healthcare. My mom's a retired nurse. My sister's a respiratory therapist. My wife's a clinical engineer, one of our customers as well. And my dad and my brother, my dad's an engineer and my brother's a mechanical engineer, does HVAC units for healthcare as well. So my whole life has been kind of centered around healthcare. And it's one of the reasons I joined this company. I came in with more of a technology focus, obviously, Adam. I've done a number of technical sales roles. What got me here into marketing was just the fact that through my experience here in the company, learning deep product knowledge, I was in the field selling to all of the major healthcare organizations that are our customers today. That brought me to this role of leading marketing, and the fact that, for me, I got the knowledge and experience to be able to speak the language of our buyer and be able to tell the story of what problems we're solving. And that really is what got me into the place that I am today, Adam.
That's really good. Very interesting. Now, you've set up. You've moved into the role of leading marketing in the last year, and you said when you took on that role, you restructured marketing, and I think the way you've got marketing organized is really unusual. It's different. There's not a lot of organizations who set it up the way that you do.
Sure, Adam. So I'll give you a little bit of context. So yeah, we didn't have. I stood up this organization October of last year. So we had a couple marketing folks that reported into sales previously. We decided to take marketing and actually have, and I report right to our CEO, and I'm paired with our CRO who leads sales and work very closely with sales. But the way we structured marketing, the way I wanted to build it out was we have three key areas in the business, and that is product marketing, dedicated both to industry and to our products. We have corporate or field marketing, as we call it, dedicated to ABM, programs that we're running around social, programs that we're doing around content creation and creative, our website itself, and all of the activities that you guys would see publicly around us. And then we have business development. And so business development, we have about 25 business development reps that are verticalized as well, that have industry expertise that are calling into our target market. So all of that, Adam, when I say what gets me, what gets me up in the morning, what am I focused on every day? There's two things. It's brand awareness and pipeline generation. That's what this business does. And so for me, making sure that people know we exist and focused especially on healthcare, it's why we do work with HIMSS as well, and other organizations working to get our brand out there in these markets, make sure folks know the value we're providing and the solutions that we can help our customers with.
Got it. Excellent. That's sort of comprehensive structures, and I think the SDRs, are they part of your team? Yeah.
BDRs, SDRs. Yep.
Yeah. That's always a big debate, is where do the SDRs live? Why did you make the decision to make a part of marketing?
Yeah, it's a good question. Now, if you look at sort of, Adam, one of the things we looked at is, deal cycles. Our deal cycles tend to run somewhere around 6 to 8 months on average. Yep. From start to finish. Obviously, the question is, when does it start? Obviously, our brand awareness goals, it can start fairly early. But longer sales cycles for software companies like us, we're an enterprise software company, right, Adam? So for us, we wanted to keep the BDRs, SDRs in the same organization as marketing. For shorter sales cycle organizations, that's where you'll put an SDR, BDR team right with sales, right? When you're looking at a month, 2 month sales cycles. But when you start to look at enterprise software, complex software sales, we chose to put the BDRs and SDRs in one and the same with marketing, because we want to make sure that the message they're sending is right in lockstep with the message marketing's building. Value propositions and scripts all come from product marketing, corporate marketing, ultimately handed to our business development team to execute on.
That's really interesting. So it's the connection. It's not so much the connection with marketing and creating campaigns and the creative aspects. It's that connection with product marketing.
That's right. That's the most important.
Yeah, and actually, sort of, I find it very interesting when I work with you and your team of seeing kind of like the relationship between a product marketing expert. So, for example, your expert Tony Bailey in OT security, and how he works with Lisa in terms of creating programs. So it's very refreshing seeing that kind of structure. Now you've mentioned ABM, and I really want to spend a lot of time on this.
Sure.
I think that the way that you're approaching ABM is just we can all learn a lot from this. But talk a bit about the overall approach, and then I'd like you to kind of break it down into a bit more detail.
Yeah. I mean, ABM for us, so we now have a dedicated full-time resource that wakes up every day and focuses on ABM. We are leveraging Terminus as a tech stack that we're leveraging today for that. But for us, Adam, we want to, there's so much opportunity out there. It's prioritizing and focusing and looking at real data to drive our decision-making. So let me give you some examples there. So one is intent data. So we want to look at real intent data based on who are the potential buyers and who's looking to buy now. So that's one of the pieces of data we're looking at. We run campaigns based on intent. There's really three main areas. Go ahead.
Do me a favor, because not everybody who listens to this podcast may actually be familiar with what intent data is.
Sure. So the tech stack uses, there's multiple tools out here that can do it. But basically, we can see if our buyers are potentially out there looking for something that would fit what we sell. So if someone's out there looking at one of our competitors, for example, or looking at clinical engineering maintenance software, we actually can leverage data around that to be able to help target our buyers that are actually currently looking for a solution. And by the way, Adam, it's not just intent data, it's also intent data based on job titles. So we can actually look at a couple different angles at that data to be able to help us prioritize, not only with our BDR, SDR organization, but also with sales that says, here's potential accounts that are showing intent and looking for solutions either in your space or in your competitor's landscape. Does that make sense?
Really interesting. Yeah. I mean, that sort of, that precision is really powerful. Mm-hmm. I think the other thing that's so interesting is the way that marketing is working with sales in a proactive way. And which is, it's not always the case, right? I mean, ABM seems to be changing the dynamic a little bit there.
Yeah, it is. And so for us, let's talk about some of the types of campaigns we run through ABM. For us, it's either an awareness campaign or it's some form of lead gen or influence campaign for us, right? Mm-hmm. So for us, for strategic accounts, Adam, we may run what we call a one-to-one campaign. We have very targeted, personalized, branded one-to-one landing page for our buyer that we're targeting strategically. So some strategic accounts we'll be looking at building out one-to-one ABM programs around. The whole goal is making sure that we're getting ads and content that's relevant to that specific buyer with the right information that they're looking to solve real problems with. That's our one-to-one model. We don't do very many of those. We may do about 5 to 10 per quarter is typically how we run those. They don't take a lot to set up, but again, they have some high value. Where we really see results are in the one-to-many campaigns. And we're doing a couple different things. When we think about one-to-many campaigns, we're looking at either industry-based campaigns, obviously running healthcare, but then targeting specific departments within healthcare with those one-to-many campaigns. So if we're looking at the biomed or HTM community, or we're looking at the facilities community within healthcare, we would target very specific personas with very specific messaging and landing pages with content relevant to their job.
So in the one-to-many, mm-hmm. So explain how how you use the intent data there. And then what the mechanism for actually targeting, what's the nitty gritty here?
Yeah. So one, we're taking a swath of accounts. Obviously, we're going to decide what's the accounts we're really targeting for the one-to-many, Adam. That's the first step in the journey. And then we're prioritizing based on intent data. We're going to potentially, if someone's looking for a CMMS, it's that tool stack that technically we're replacing in healthcare. If they're looking for a CMMS, we're going to be putting content relevant to that intent data right in front of them. Here's content around CMS technology, relevant to our capabilities, basically addressing that specifically. What it does, Adam, it also allows us to prioritize our accounts that we're outreaching now with BDRs. So because typically what we're going to do, Adam, is it's not just a ABM only effort. We're using ABM plus social plus BDRs to execute on that campaign, right? So now we're running, again, that awareness first, then we're running that one-to-many based on intent data, prioritizing that account list based on what we're seeing in terms of terminus prioritization, in terms of intent. Now our BDR SDRs are knowing which ones to work on first, second, third, based on that intent and interaction with our content.
That's incredible. In terms of sort of that mix of intent, social, and BDRs. So from mm-hmm. intent, are you using display? Are you using any of the display networks? Is that to run banner ads?
We are. Yes. That's exactly right. Yeah, we sure are. And
is that LinkedIn or is that sort of
LinkedIn's a primary channel. We're also retargeting through Facebook as well is the secondary. So based on someone engaging, we'll retarget through Facebook. So we have a couple different angles to keep our brand in front of folks. So that's the way we're doing that.
It always amazes me, isn't it? There's something which is highly technical, very much an enterprise buy, Facebook is still actually a viable place to retarget people because, they've got lives. It always amazes me. So I know that we've talked about this quite a few times. You've been at it with ABM for about 2 years, and it was not an easy journey, right? It was it took a while to get it right. So tell us about that, and tell us about the trial and error, and how you stuck at it.
Yeah, the figuring out really the approach is the key there, Adam. For us, determining where are we going to spend our time and energy and investment, because obviously there's a cost associated with it too, right? So for us, it's focused on exactly really the key data points. So what industry, what target personas we want to hit. We also work to make sure that those intent topics were also included. So when intent data happens, we work with, it's called Bombora, is the technology behind the scenes that allows us to add intent topics in this technology stack. So for us, making sure the right intent topics are in that list so that when there's intent, we're seeing it, Adam. So we've been working with that. Plus, we've made the decision over the last 1.5 to 2 years that we've got to dedicate a full-time resource to this. Part-time resources wasn't enough. If we're going to go all in on ABM, it needs a full-time care and feeding to really optimize how we run the ABM program.
Yeah, and you insource so much of what you do, right? And that seems to be the way that, particularly in B2B, a lot of companies are going, is just bringing everything in-house.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating seeing that happen. One of the issues that you hear is like the number one issue that ABM practitioners say is their biggest challenge is measuring the ROI. Talk a little bit about about that journey you've been on there.
Yeah, this has definitely gotten. You're right. Measuring ABM is hard. We're starting to now finally get to a point where we're truly able to measure return on investment. Adam, I'll just give you some metrics. So for Q2, I'm just going to give you a few different data points. With just ABM in the last quarter, we had 6,000 page views that were influenced through ABM just this last quarter. We had 17 million of net new pipeline that was influenced through ABM. That's net new. And we had 47 million of existing pipeline that was influenced. One of the things that we're also pivoting on, Adam, is targeting our current pipeline. So we're running ABM not only just to find opportunities and find leads, but also influence opportunities through the buyer's journey.
Yeah.
Right. And what I mean by that is we now have an opportunity running through its pipeline stages. One of the things we're doing now is for all of our current active opportunities, keeping ABM running through that buyer journey. What that does is it keeps our brand in front of that buyer through that entire process. You think about an RFP, for example, request for proposal, Adam. We don't have a lot of interaction with our buyer during that process besides a procurement person. But ABM can keep our brand and our message and our information in front of those potential buyers through that entire RFP process. So it allows some nice flexibility for us, allows us to keep our brand, our value in the front of our potential buyers. One of the other data points, now it's early, Adam, in this measurement, but we were looking at a couple other data points. How is it potentially increasing the value of our opportunities using ABM? So net new pipeline, when we applied ABM to it, it was increasing the average size of that opportunity by almost 50%, 49% ARR increase, annual recurring revenue increase, just by applying ABM to that. Now, it's early stage in that measurement, but you think about that value.
That's extraordinary. Yeah.
How is that happening, Adam? So the question you'd ask is, how is that happening? Well, what's happening is we don't just sell into one department within a hospital or an organization. We sell into multiple departments within an organization. So the more departments and organizations can see our brand and our solutions, expands the potential footprint that we can potentially land within that opportunity. And so that's just one. Does that help?
Oh, that's mind-blowing. I mean, that's marketing nirvana, right? Where you're seeing, dynamically being able to see a land and expand happening.
Correct.
So how do you attribute what the revenue and pipeline associated with ABM versus not?
Yeah, so the tech stack that we're leveraging does show us that data point, Adam. So it actually is able to measure. So it's able to show us specifically the revenue we're generating, how much did ABM touch that account during that sales process. So it actually measures for us how that ABM effort attributes back to that potential revenue.
Is that done in Terminus, or is there other tools on top of that?
Terminus specifically what does that. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Right. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, are there anything, any things that you've tried that you kind of thought, yeah, we thought that was going to work, but really, didn't work. That was the wrong thing to do.
For me, we've actually taken a little bit of a step back on the one-to-one campaigns, Adam. Those, I think, for me, there was more lift than value in a lot of cases there, meaning we can get a lot of value out of making intent-based campaigns. It doesn't have to be one-to-one. It doesn't have to go down to the one-to-one level. Like I said, we can still get content in our brand and all of the information that a buyer might need without having to go to the level of customizing and creating that one-to-one landing page for a buyer. There's value, but for us, we tapered that back. We used to do a lot more of that and had a lot of overhead associated to it. Yeah. For us now, targeting our buyers through the sales process, setting up one-to-many campaigns based on true intent data and based on our key target personas, that's where we spend a lot of our time now.
Well, that insight gives you competitive advantage, but it also, so I hope your competitors are not listening to this podcast. The other thing, obviously, is like productivity, right? Because as you say, I've seen those websites, and there's a lot of work that goes into designing them and curating them. And I'm sure that the organizations that you're pitching it to get a lot of value out of it, but it doesn't necessarily generate. In fact, you can actually track the comparative ROI. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so, Ben, this has been, as ever, every time I talk to you, I learn so much. But I've got a closing question for you, which is, if you could give the audience one piece of practical advice that they could take away and act on today, something that you've learned in the last few years that you wish you'd known earlier, what would that be?
The one thing first is dedicate resources to it. If you're going to run an ABM program, dedicate resources to it.
Yep.
That's the first. The next is, as you're building your ABM program, don't look too wide. Pick a segment. Like, I don't know if you're looking to sell into multiple segments. Like for us, we picked healthcare first. It was one of the first areas of us to focus on. And we picked clinical engineering facilities to focus in on. So pick your target industry you really want to prioritize.
Yep.
Then pick, what is that persona? What is the key where I'm going to go with this? And then the other piece of this, Adam, is making sure you get sales buy-in on it.
Yep.
Working with our BDR SDRs. And then we have a weekly call every week with each of our sales segments to go through the data. If you're not leveraging the valuable data that's coming out of this, Adam, and prioritizing where you're spending your time, it's so important. And so for me, that would be the third piece, is make sure sales and your BDR SDR team 100% bought in. They're excited. That's going to make that program successful. And that's an ongoing care and feeding, by the way. So
terrific. Thank you. That's great advice. Ben, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with you today. And, I'm sure that for anyone listening to this who's going down that ABM journey, this is really valuable insight. So before we go, I just want to let you know that you can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other podcast channels. You can also view the video and the notes about this podcast on the link below. So we've got a great program of guests coming up. This is episode 1 of what I hope will be many, many episodes. Anybody coming after Ben's a tough act to follow, frankly. And thank you all for listening. And if you've got a topic that you'd like us to cover, please just email me. You can reach me at Adam at healthlaunchpad.com. That's Adam at healthlaunchpad.com. Or just find me, Adam Chirinos, on LinkedIn. Thank you all for attending, and hope you're listening to some of our upcoming podcasts as well.